we got a package. You already know what's in here, but let me explain why. So about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks or so, I was at Target just messing around with some of my friends. I didn't have any plans on actually buying anything or even looking in the Target recycling bin, but on my way out, I decided to take a look at it and ended up pulling out this iPhone 14 Pro Max, deep purple in nearly mint condition with a screen protector and case on it, along with an iPhone 12, some iPhone 8s, a Pixel 3a, and some other stuff. Sadly, the phone is iCloud locked, which is really unfortunate. I was really hoping that it would work. Although the 12 did work, which was cool, so I sold that. But since this phone was in mint condition, I really didn't want to let it go to waste. So originally I was just going to sell it and get what money I could for it, which was around $300 from what I could tell. But instead of doing that, inside of this package, we have an iPhone 14 Pro Max that needs a new screen. Now, this one is a little bit risky as this is a water damaged phone. I don't usually buy water damaged phones, but the amount of money that I paid for this just made it to where I couldn't really pass it up. I paid a mere $280 for a 256 gigabyte carrier unlocked iPhone 14 Pro Max that, according to the seller, 2 independent fix-it-up shops told him it just needs a new screen. So we're gonna see how accurate that is. So let's go ahead and get this box open. Go ahead and lift the flaps open on the box. Remove some brown paper. And we find the iPhone 14 Pro Max wrapped up in the Dallas Morning News. I think I'm gonna hold on to this. This is kind of interesting. This actually did ship from Dallas, Texas. So they really did just go out and grab the newspaper and wrap it up to ship it. This is probably the best way that I've ever seen an iPhone wrapped up in a package. This is awesome. We'll go ahead and unwrap it and find the iPhone 14 Pro Max itself in a Ziploc bag, nice and fresh. Man, I will say it is kind of crazy seeing 2 of these next to each other in my room when I paid full price for my regular 14 Pro when it came out. Anyways, enough waiting. Let's just go ahead and get the phone out of the wrapping and just see how the phone is looking in person. Wow, the condition of this phone really is quite nice. So unfortunately, the screen is completely dead. This is due to water. Anyways, overall, the phone does look great. The housing is in really nice condition upon first inspection. And I can tell that it's just a screen dead as I just hit the ringer switch and I could feel the phone's haptics begin to vibrate. The seller gave me the IMEI of the phone, so before I bought it, I did run the IMEI and confirmed it is 256 gigabytes, carrier unlocked, and found my iPhone off. But now that I've accidentally confirmed that the phone does work, I think it's time to just go ahead and get started with heating up this phone so that I can get it opened up and take the screen off of my other iPhone 14 Pro Max. For the process of actually getting the phone open, I'm gonna be doing this off camera as it's just gonna be easier. Okay, so after I actually got the phone opened up, I am really surprised with how clean it is on the inside for it being a water damaged phone. You can see there is a little bit of residue on the back of the camera protector plate and on the back of the screen. Of course, those were sandwiched together. But other than that, the inside looks very, very, very clean. This gives me much higher hopes for the phone. I'm definitely less scared to be working on this now. But now that I've gotten this one open, I need to go ahead and get this battery disconnected and this screen taken off of the phone. And then I'll go ahead and get the other one open and then swap the screens, etc. Okay, so now that I've gone ahead and gotten the screen completely off of the phone, by the way, nice touch Apple with the A16 Bionic branding on top of this shield. But anyways, now that I have the screen off of the 14 Pro Max that I bought, I need to go ahead and get the screen off of the one I found at Target, and then we'll get to putting it onto here. Okay, so I've now gone ahead and gotten the screen completely off of the other 14 Pro Max. And now the only thing left to do before we can test the 14 Pro Max that I actually purchased, which is out of frame, is to go ahead and put the good screen onto it. Let's go ahead and connect it up so we can test it, and then we'll take a look and see how the phone seems to work. Now I've gone ahead and gotten the new screen connected up onto the phone that I purchased. And now is a really nerve-wracking moment when I'm gonna go ahead and hold down the power button and just pray that this phone works. And thank God that we got an Apple logo. I think there would be a problem if I didn't see one. Looks like we're on the setup screen of what appears to be iOS 18. Nice. The battery was pretty low, so I went ahead and grabbed a charger to have the phone plugged into while I set it up. But now let's just go ahead and get the phone set up so we can test it out. I'll go ahead and connect the Wi-Fi real quick And it looks like the phone activated really quick. Continue. We'll set up for myself. Let me test out Face ID real quick. Looks like Face ID worked perfect. Go ahead and continue. I'll just set up all zeros for now. We'll just set it up fresh. And I'll skip the Apple ID, as all I want to do is go ahead and test out how well this phone is functioning. Only download, continue, turn on, continue, share with Apple, share, dark mode, continue, choose from me, I don't really care, skip. Here we are at the home screen on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Go ahead and check, and we'll see. It's already running iOS 18.2, no SIM restrictions. It currently has a T-Mobile eSIM, and we've got a pop-up under parts and service saying that a new display was detected. Restart to configure your new display for this iPhone. While we're at it, the battery health is also 89%. And of course, the phone is not blacklisted. Now, one thing that unfortunately I did notice as soon as I pulled the phone out of the wrapping is that this camera right here does have a little bit of damage, along with the front camera, very unfortunately. We'll go ahead and see how that rear camera looks. It looks like this is the 1X camera, as covering up that camera does go ahead and cover up the 1X zoom. And I'm really glad to see that the camera quality is overall unaffected. That is one thing that I was upset about when I first noticed it, but as the camera does still work perfectly, hopefully I can make that camera look a little bit better. As you can see, the front camera on this 14 Pro Max looks great. Even zooming out still looks good, even though it does have a tiny bit of damage. Okay, so now that I've at least gotten the screen onto the phone and have confirmed that everything is working perfect, I messed around with it for about an hour now and nothing seems to be out of the ordinary. The cameras are working perfect, even though the main lens and the front camera do look a little bit strange. I'm not sure what I'm able to do about those cameras, but I'm gonna take the rest of today to think and see if there is anything that I could do. I do have another front camera and rear camera module sitting in the other 14 Pro Max, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be replacing it. We'll see, I guess. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish actually putting this phone back together, as it's still missing all the screws over there. And then we'll go ahead and see if we can finish the repair with the display that we put on the phone earlier. But first, I gotta get this thing screwed back together. Okay, so now that I've actually got the phone screwed together, previously it was just clamped down. I've even got the pentalobes in, of course. The other 14 Pro Max has the screen protector that was originally on this perfect screen. I took it off to make it easier to get the screen off with the suction cup, as it was trying to rip off the screen protector. I'll get this on here later. This one is still not put back together. All the screws are still out of frame. I'll end up putting this back together later. But for now that I have the 14 Pro Max actually completely put back together, I'm gonna go ahead and spend the rest of this afternoon cleaning up the phone, putting that screen protector back on it, and just setting it up as my own and using it as a secondary phone for the day. Testing it out, making sure there's no issues with it, and seeing what I think about these cameras, and seeing if there's anything that I could do to make them look a little bit better. But I'll get back to you guys later today, after I've actually experienced using the phone a little bit. Actually, I lied. Now it's time to go ahead and finish the display repair on this iPhone 14 Pro Max, as I forgot to do that. Now, I've gone ahead and put the screen protector on. Unfortunately, it's a little bit messed up down here, so after everything I tried, I couldn't get this to actually stay down properly. That's okay though. I'm not planning on keeping this phone too long. I'm probably gonna be selling it. The screen protector is just on here to keep the screen from getting scratched, as the screen's absolutely mint. Also put the case that was on the phone when I found it at Target back onto it, just yet again to keep the phone in nice shape. The case is kind of ugly and it's beginning to yellow. Although it is a speaking case, it's starting to yellow and doesn't feel the best, but at least there's something covering up the phone. But now I do want to go ahead and try out doing the display finish repair thing. We'll go to parts and service history and we'll click on restart and finish repair. And we'll give the phone just a minute to restart. And here we are at the repair assistant. We'll go ahead and click on continue. Let me connect to Wi-Fi real quick. Looks like it already recognized my network and connected. We'll click continue. And of course I am already running iOS 18.2. We'll agree, give it a moment to configure. And it looks like it detected the display as a genuine Apple part. We'll click continue. And it looks like it says your iPhone has been configured. Restart to complete the repair process and continue using your iPhone. We'll click on restart, and wait just a moment. Looks like the phone is booted up to the lock screen. So far, everything seems the exact same. Of course, we still have True Tone functionality, which was here anyways with iOS 18.2, even though the display was not original. We'll go ahead and go to General and About, go to Parts and Service History, and we'll see that the display shows as used, which is really surprising. I was really expecting the phone to complain about the screen being from an activation locked iPhone, But as you can see, it hasn't complained at all. It just says it's used, and at no point during this video did it indicate that the screen was from an activation locked phone. Now the screen ideally should function just like normal, like it was from the factory, with auto brightness, etc. And it does show that it is a genuine part. Very nice.
The next day.
Okay, welcome back. It is now 2 p.m. the next day. And since the last clip that I recorded of this video, I think I've used this 14 Pro Max more than I've used my 16 Pro Max. Using this phone feels so weird because it feels so similar to my old phone, my regular size 14 Pro, but at the same time, it's huge, just like my 16 Pro Max. But when I first got the 14 Pro, I realized after like 2 weeks that I should have gotten the Pro Max because it fit in my hands so much better, but I was past my return window, therefore I couldn't return it. So needless to say, I've absolutely loved using this phone for the past day, and I think I'll probably end up holding on to this for a couple of days or so. But I have come to the decision that I am gonna try replacing the camera. So I still have a whole nother 14 Pro Max that has a good camera system. The camera system in this one works perfectly fine. It just looks weird from the outside, which may make the phone harder to sell in the future. So judging by how well the screen repair went, taking it from the other phone, I think I'm gonna try doing the same thing with the camera, and hopefully all goes well. If it doesn't, I'll keep the original camera, as the camera works totally fine. It just has a little defect on the outside. But anyways, let's just get started with that camera swap. Okay, so I've finally gotten the bad 14 Pro Max taken apart and gotten the camera bracket off. All I've got to do is take the camera out. I'm gonna leave it in for now so that I can go ahead and get the good 14 Pro Max taken apart and get this camera out of here. Then I'll put the new one in here, loosely put the phone back together, and see if everything's gonna work out the way I hope it does. Okay, so I've now finally gotten the other 14 Pro Max taken apart. Now both of them have no screen and no camera bracket, and all I need to do is switch the camera between the frames, connect the screen back up to the good one, which is in my hand right now, and then go ahead and test out that camera and see if this is gonna work out. Okay, I've gotten the new camera into the good iPhone 14 Pro Max. I've got the screen loosely attached. As you can see, there's that fresh main sensor. And while I have a second, I'm gonna go ahead and clamp this screen down just to keep the phone together better. Now, we'll go ahead and unlock the iPhone 14 Pro Max. We don't immediately get any sort of pop-ups about the camera. Go ahead and go to settings. We'll go to general, about. Let's go to parts and service history. And of course we see a new rear camera was detected. Restart to configure your new rear camera for this iPhone. Before that, I wanna see the current functionality of the camera. Macro mode does seem to work. 0.5, 1x, 2x, and 3x are all working totally fine. Zoom looks good. Let's go ahead and restart and finish repair. Here we are at the repair assistant yet again. We'll click on continue and we'll continue again. We'll agree. The rear camera is detected as a genuine Apple part, so we'll click continue. Looks like it needs a camera calibration. We'll click continue. So the overall calibration seems pretty easy. I guess this makes sense because it has to calibrate with the LiDAR sensor. It wants me to stand in a well-lit room with several large objects and hold the device in a portrait orientation and do something to stabilize the device, like resting my elbow on my body. Hold the device about 4 feet from the objects and slowly turn to the left and right, covering a 90-degree field of view. Let me do this real quick and I'll get right back to you guys. Okay, so I essentially just went downstairs and stood in my living room and panned the phone around for a couple of minutes. Now we'll go ahead and click restart, restart again, and give the phone a minute to reboot. Okay, now that the phone is rebooted, I'll go ahead and put in my passcode, go ahead and unlock the 14 Pro Max, no messages immediately, go to settings, general, about, parts and service history. We have a genuine camera and a used display. Very nice. Now, one thing with this phone that's gonna be a little bit interesting is that the repair date for the camera is 1 day later than the date for the display. That's because I did the display yesterday, of course, and the camera today. But now we'll go ahead and test out the brand new camera, 0.5, 1x, 2x, 3x, and so forth. All looking very good. I'm not seeing a single problem with this 14 Pro Max camera. And now, instead of having that weird, bubbly, super bright look to it, that main lens now looks normal just like it should, instead of being very obvious that something happened. There's the difference right there. The broken one almost looks freckled. Now that I've finished all the repairs to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, I'm actually gonna put them both back together, as it might be important to have some screws in this thing, and then I'll get back to you guys. So in the end, we have a gorgeous iPhone 14 Pro Max in nearly mint condition, running iOS 18.2, carrier unlocked 256 gigabyte that I managed to get for only $280. My original plan with this phone was to resell it right after building it, but I've decided that instead I'm gonna be keeping it for like a week and then selling it off. When I found the original 14 Pro Max at Target, it was in this case right here. So I do at least have a case, and it had a screen protector that I was able to salvage with just the corner peeling up a tiny bit. On top of having this 14 Pro Max, I've got another one that's also in really nice condition that has a dead screen and a camera that just looks a teeny tiny bit weird. It's iCloud locked, I believe, probably 128 gig and likely carrier locked, but this one will just be sold on eBay for parts for probably around $250, although possibly less. Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching me fix this 14 Pro Max. This is a video that I have really enjoyed doing, as I've wanted to fix a phone this new for a long time, but I've just never really had the money to get around to doing it. And please excuse my dry hands, I hate winter. Anyways, enough yapping. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, as of right now, only 8.1% of my viewers are actually subscribed to my channel. So if you're new, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as it'll really help me in reaching my goal of 8,000 subscribers. Now it's time for member shoutouts. Huge thanks to these 4 members. All 4 of them will be linked down in the description of this video. Please consider going and checking out their channels or subscribing to them. And if you would like to become a member of my channel, there's also a link down in the description to help you do that. It's $1.99 a month, and it just helps me continue to make these videos. Anyway, I have 2 14 Pro Maxes now. I don't know what to do with my life. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, peace out, guys.